Hello, and welcome to our Flow podcast. I'm Irmak,
I'm Selim.
and this is the fifth episode of the International Student Guide. In this episode, I have Selim with me, and where are you studying?
I'm currently living in London and studying UCL.
She's a neuroscience student,
Tough.
and we both just moved, so we're going to be talking about really recent experiences. In this episode, we'd like to, in the last episode I covered right before the travel, and in this episode we'll focus on our initial experiences, our first 2 weeks, arriving in the country, settling in our dorm.
Mm-hmm. Especially as like two STEM people studying in different cities, different continents even.
Different continents, for sure. For me, I hadn't been to Canada before I moved. I literally packed all my stuff and moved permanently to a new country that I hadn't been before. So my initial experiences were quite interesting.
Wow. In terms of what?
In terms of my expectations, what I saw, I only saw photos of the university before I went, which was quite exciting. But for you, I think you've been to London before.
I've been to London once with my family as a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't see the university or did like a campus tour before choosing it. But I always knew that London was a city that spoke to my heart in terms of like the dynamic nature.
Yeah.
And especially the opportunities for my field, the prestige of the university for my major in particular. Those were the determining factors.
Mm-hmm.
But when I arrived initially there, settling in is a whole process, especially if you're living in the dorms. You go shopping with your family, and then I came like so prepared. We came with like 8 suitcases because I didn't want to like spend too much money on stuff there. But even so, there was still stuff I needed to buy. And like errands I needed to run.
I remember her packing process took like a whole month because she was packing like from all the kitchen stuff to because she lives in a single unit and she has her kitchen inside. It's like a studio. Apartment. Unlike me, whereas I'm living in a dorm, or yours is a dorm too, but I have a roommate. I have like a meal plan in the dorm, so yeah.
And do you think like living with a roommate and under a meal plan has its benefits?
We'll get to that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So I want to first talk about like the moment you landed or your first day initially. You went with your parents, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people didn't, which is another story. Like a lot of people went alone to a country that they don't know about. But yeah, what were you expecting? What was the first day like for you?
So, I think a lot of the stuff requires prior planning. And it's very self-directed. Like, you need to keep up with what you need to collect, the ID cards, the residence permits, all the stuff you need to do before school starts.
Yeah.
You need to plan those yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in like high school or earlier years, people did that for you. So that was like my first maturing up moment.
For sure.
And settling in the school, the first week was more like an orientation week. We went to classes, but they were introductory. And each night we had an event. There, like we bought nightlife wristbands. It was optional, of course, but everyone went. There were events every night, and just orienting yourself with your major. The second week was more of like the classes starting, but initial material and getting to know your classmates. But I think even with that, you need to do a lot of stuff on your own. If you want to meet people, even in your class, you need to be more assertive, I think.
Right. But what was this city like? Because how many days did your parents stay with you?
They stayed with me for about 4 days.
And then you were alone.
Yes.
And did the city feel familiar? I mean, London is approximately like 4 hours away by plane from Istanbul.
Yeah.
And did it feel similar, or was it really different? Or how were your first encounters, for example, at a grocery store, or like when you were buying a pillow or something at the IKEA was like crowded?
Yeah.
When we first
Oh my god, yes, the IKEA. So for me, since I had been to London before and I knew what type of city I wanted to live in college, I'm a big city person. I love the dynamic lifestyle and the events, the school. So I was like, I knew London would be a city for me, and I was right. I mean, I would love to live there even in the future. Um, One thing that I found maybe a bit weird was how the individualistic culture there. Like, people are respectful, definitely, and we don't have that like cold-bloodedness. But at the same time, you get the sense that everyone has their own life, and you do share space, you do share certain things, but in the end, you're on your own. That's what I felt like.
Yeah, I see. For me, I hadn't been to Toronto, and I didn't do much research on the city that I was going to, which caused some problems in the future, and which could be a good advice for people who are going to apply soon, is to maybe travel to the city that you might be studying in. I know that's not an option for everyone, so
Definitely.
it's okay if it's not, for example, for me, I had no idea, and it wasn't exactly what I kind of wanted for myself, and now I'm learning to deal with that or operate in that and kind of try to make it into a lifestyle that I want. For example, a lot of my friends did travel to the cities that they were going to, but a lot didn't. So I imagine this might be the case for a lot of people where they land in the city or in the university, if it's a campus place, and they're like, oh, this is not how I imagined it would be. And that's very, very natural, like the most humane thing. Toronto is a big city, and U of T is a big school. So initially, there was the orientation. So I went there with my dad, and I couldn't move into the dorm until for another 3 days. So I was staying in a hotel, and my dad left after 2 days, and I moved into the dorm by myself with all the suitcases. Which was terrifying. Like, let me tell you, I Ubered to the dorm with all the suitcases, and some of them got lost in the airport, by the way.
Wow.
And I was dealing with all of that and school starting at the same time. And the Uber, we argued a little bit with the Uber driver, and it left me a little bit further away from my dorm.
Mean.
And I was terrified of moving in. I had no one there, and I was really scared to see the room. And it was just all so new and so foreign to me. And the city was huge. I just had no idea what to do. I didn't know anyone. And the first days for me, they were really rough. I think the first 2 weeks, they go by really fast. And if you're moving really far away from your home, probably the scariest weeks.
Yeah. And actually, we were just chatting over this with Irmak. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to build a solid routine from the start, because adjusting is going to take time, and we need to accept that. What we did was a major life switch.
Yes.
In terms of culture, in terms of living alone, and that's going to take far more than 3 months.
Exactly. For sure. And kind of the point of this guide is to just show future students how it's okay to struggle and how it's okay to mess up.
It's okay to feel lost. Everyone does.
Yeah, we are feeling very lost at the moment, but we're learning to see that how that's okay.
Yeah.
I actually I read something yesterday which said like, oh, what do you think being in your 20s is like? And someone said it's like you're in the middle of an ocean and someone tells you there's land somewhere, but they don't tell you which direction, so you swim in every direction trying to find
the Christoph Columb experience.
So it was like that. For my first week, I pushed every button. I was trying to meet everyone, trying to go to every cafe in the city, trying to just be very social. And eventually, I was FaceTiming Celine and we were like, I'm so tired. Like, I'm not resting at all. Because we both are very perfectionist people and we wanted everything to be perfect from the start.
Both in terms of academics and social life. And I must say, I really struggle with that in London because we're huge yes people. Like we like to get ourselves immersed in everything, like our interests and stuff. And I was like going to class every day, and our like majors are hard. They're very science focused, and they're prestigious in our university. So we have lots of contact hours. And there are a lot of assignments we need to do studying. So going to school and then coming back from school with minimal rest, going to here, this event, that event, then meeting up with your friends, then on top of that you need to do your own laundry, I need to do my own meal prepping. And we also need to think about budgeting, we also need to think about what we're gonna do in the future, which is as crazy as it sounds. We were both like, what internship are we going to do? What career are we going to do? It's okay not to know everything.
We're still learning that it's okay, and we're still putting a lot of. It's a self-discovery journey, honestly.
Definitely.
I can say it hasn't been that long, but from the first 2 weeks, so we struggled a lot with. Making genuine connections, because I feel like, I mean, we also know each other for a long time, and our friends here have known each other for a long time. Obviously, it didn't happen overnight, the friendships we built here. But also, Turkish people, I feel like are a little bit warmer. It's a bit of a warmer, more friendly culture.
Yeah, it's a collectivist culture, so...
Yeah, compared to, like Toronto or the US, where it's more, a little bit more individualism is dominating the culture there. So I think over time I started to realize that, and I struggled socially, which I hadn't anticipated at all. It's very interesting because I also didn't know this about myself, where I didn't know I was craving that social circle all the time. I was focused on how my academics would be going into university, but I realized that that's an important aspect, and I continue to learn things about myself that I will apply in the future, that I will consider in the future.
I think we also crave those genuine connections more because we both lived in like family houses, and even on nights where you did nothing, someone was in the house.
Yeah.
Like a person you cared about. And whether you're living alone or in a roommates in university, you're living with someone, you're not living with someone you're genuinely that much connected with. And it does take time to build those connections. And I think it's going to develop naturally in the end, just like it did with our high school friends, for example.
Right. So I can say confidently, after spending a semester in Toronto, that the small worries I had, which seemed really big at the time, like I don't know the city, I don't know the transportation here, I don't know where to go for what, like where to go if I get sick, where to go if I need something, I can confidently say that over time, they sort themselves out. I'm very confident about transportation right now and everything else. but I wish I didn't pressure myself so much at the start to figure all that out. Those are smaller things that get sorted out.
Yeah.
I wish someone told me last year something like this. I feel like this is great that we're doing this.
I think it's a live and learn situation, and like I think from the outside, some people's lives may seem perfect. Those that just started uni, they have everything right, but no, everyone is struggling with something. Everyone. So I think it's important to carry your past experiences into your current journey, and also like we're gonna make mistakes. We're standing alone on our feet for the first time in our lives.
Right. Another thing I want to talk about is being an international student, you're a minority. I haven't seen a university where they have like more than 50% of international students. Or like I haven't seen, probably there is, but not common.
The city.
Right. So at U of T, I think it's around 22% probably undergrad. So you are a minority. So a lot of people that you meet are from there and they can't relate to your experience. My first week, I think almost everyone I met lived in Toronto, grew up there, and they went home after school. So that was very interesting. So I didn't feel like I really wanted, I craved that like connection where I could say, oh, I miss my family, like I miss my home. You know, I wanted to say that to someone, and I think during the second week I met a girl in my computer science class, and she's from Pakistan, and I was like, I'm feeling really homesick, and she was like, you know what, this weekend's been really hard, and I felt really homesick, and that instantly made me feel seen.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I'm trying to start an international student community at my school right now.
That's so important.
Creating these videos to reach out to people. Not because I think that international students should be isolated and grouped, but I do think they need to be interacting with each other.
Because there's someone else that can relate to your feeling too.
Yeah, so how did you feel in terms of that? So when you went, obviously a lot of kids from our schools that go to London, so that might have been a slight help.
I think the thing about London is that it's a very multicultural city. So even if there are like British people, I feel like there's so many people who are like culturally fused. Like most of my British friends in my own course, for example, their father's from Brazil, their mother's from there. But again, my school also has a majority of Asian people and British people. And it's so normal for yourself to feel a little excluded at times. Because I think, for example, some of my Asian friends, they mostly stick amongst themselves, and after school they go home. And I know that didn't serve me well mentally. So I tried to like find my own community there and the people I could connect to, even if it's just for like a talk on our feet or a cup of coffee after class. But I think, it's important to put efforts into finding people you feel that can relate to your experience.
Which isn't easy for everyone. I know that we are very outgoing and extroverted, so maybe it comes naturally. Not always, obviously. Not always.
Like after yesterday, for example, our social batteries are dead, but...
So I know it's not, so I met a lot of people who were like, oh, I'm struggling to make friends here because, for example, in my school, and I know a lot of schools are like this, you really have to make an effort if you want to meet someone who doesn't, no one will come and meet you. Or there aren't social instances where you are grouped together with similar people, or you just have to find for yourself. So I know a lot of people who are in their second year or third year are still struggling with that. And I think that's also very understandable. It's a very, very valid struggle.
Oh, definitely.
And definitely no one is alone in that. The social aspect is, especially if you're an international person who doesn't know anyone there, it's true, it's real.
Yeah.
But it's also really beautiful because you learn a lot about yourself in the process, I think.
Yeah, it definitely teaches you how to be alone at times and
Exactly.
deal with the feeling of being alone, because you feel alone when you may not necessarily be alone. It's just
Yes.
a mental thing, and I think we also need to learn how to navigate that feeling.
This is a really great point, in my opinion. I struggled a lot with that because I was surrounded by people all the time here in Istanbul. I mean, we all like know people here, which I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing. So when I arrived there, I had a lot of alone time where I didn't really know what to do with myself. For example, my classes would end like at 3 and I had the rest of the day free and I didn't know what to do, and it's still very tough. I still don't know. I'm still learning and I'm still kind of coming to peace with that there will be alone times. And Selin would FaceTime me, she would be cooking and she's a great guy. She would be like, I think I need to take some time alone this evening, so I'm just cooking and like studying.
I very recently started doing that, by the way, but we need to really.
And yeah, it's just a beautiful process and it's a lot of growth and pain. But would I be going through that if I stayed in my own country? I'm not sure.
I don't think so, because here we
Not
had
this intensely.
Yeah, because here we had like set routines.
Right.
And living in Istanbul, like we were all living in family homes. Everyone went to school. We were together for the whole day. We had like a set timetable. And then during the weekday, you would like maybe go for a cup of coffee after class, and then everyone went home.
Right.
Because you had to wake up at like 6, 7 the next day.
Right.
Now university is like everyone's living alone, and there's something in London. There's something going on every night. So for me, it was a bit hard to like say no to plans, because even I still don't think I've gotten to that most ideal routine point yet, because I feel very overstimulated. That's the main feeling I'm dealing with, the feeling of loneliness, but at the same time overstimulatedness. Yeah, those are the two major drawbacks and feelings I'm struggling with right now. But it matures you up so much. It, especially like Irmak, when she's FaceTiming me, she's like, Selin, you're exaggerating. Don't meet up with anyone today. Just take some time off, cook yourself a nice dinner. Yeah.
That's why we really appreciate each other's presence, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this episode was kind of about our initial and still ongoing struggles, but we didn't delve much into our life at school, like our academic life, which is a huge part of this.
Oh, definitely. And it's so, I think, personalized that it even changes from country to country and major to major.
So in the next episode, we'll delve more into kind of our life in an academic perspective, especially as an international person, because it's different for us. Like thinking about the future, which country am I going to stay? Even if it's too early, we start thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
So hope this helped, and I thought it definitely helped me. Sometimes I think I'm just doing this for myself.
Yeah, like she gotta take her own advice at some point.
And see you in the next episode. Bye. Çok tatlı oldu.
Bence de çok natürel yani.
Çektiğim en iyisi oldu bu arada. Diğerleri bu kadar iyi.
Bunu yüklememiz lazım podcast olarak.
Kesinlikle. Hepsini yükledim. Çekmemiş falan.